Providing basic welfare is the core role of local governance, but true recovery requires safety. This week, we turn the spotlight on Gwoza Local Government Area, exploring rural security, local governance, and the realities facing communities rebuilding after years of conflict. Welcome to Scorecard. I am Dakpo Adigboye. Let's get the grade. Gwoza Local Government Area received about 746.8 million in federal allocation, that's FAC allocation for May 2026 under the leadership of Abu Katwu Timta. These monthly funds aimed to restore civil authority, resettle displaced families, and revive local businesses. While some residents praise significant security improvements under the current administration, many insist the economic recovery remains an ongoing work in progress. Now, News Central visited Gwoza Local Government Area to hear directly from residents about what's working and what's not. Take a listen.
From the rocky and hilly Kirawa to Pulka town, stretching to Gwoza, farmers trek, while others ride bicycle to go to their farms in the season. This used to be a dream for most families, as the local government area used to be a caliphate and stronghold of terrorists for about a year in 2014. It is the location of the Mandara Mountains and large part of the Sambisa forest.
There are a lot of issues of insurgency that occurred in our place, as well as other villages in local government. Immediately, if there is anything that happened in the local government, he himself, with his securities, then the militaries, they will be there immediately. So that is why I commended his effort, because such kind of thing has happened in my village, especially when there was a time that our people were liking even this motorcycle. Immediately, he now sourced motorcycle and he gave our own civilian JTF, while it now boosts the morale of the civilian JTF as well as the military, the security personnel. They are doing their best.
So in your own assessment from 1 to 10, how many would you give your chairman?
If I'm the one to assess Prince Abakao from 1 to 10, I will give him 8.
While communities like Ashigashia and others are still displaced, residents in communities including Wala, Bita, Yemtake and other resettled settlements said they now enjoy greater freedom of movement compared to previous years when attacks and insurgent activities kept people confined to camps.
Bayan ya ci shekara biya zo shekara uku akan cancanta ne, in ba cancanta ba za mu yadda shi ba, akan kwazon shi ne aka mai da shi. Mu kuma har mu da muka observing mun ji daɗi abin da yake akan cancanta ne aka yi din mu mun tabbatar a haka. Saboda haka Allah ya kara mishi ɗaukaka ma mai girman chairman, har kuma maganar Ashgashiya wanda ana ambata din har ma ya je da kafan shi ya ja ga Ashgashiya ya iyakan gwargwadon karfi har wa yau bai fasa ya mai da Ashgashiya ba. Kawai Allah ne dai bai mai da mu ba, amma shi ya iyakan gwargwadon karfi shi ya kai mutanen mu Ashgashiya.
The attack, dislodgement and abduction of over 400 women and children in Goshe town remains one of the difficult experiences of the people of Gwoza under the leadership of Abakau Timta as chairman.
Inside the rubbles of what remains in Goshe community, one of the communities in Gwoza Local Government Area that was displaced by terrorists and has been recaptured by the Nigerian Armed Forces. And the government says it will never let opportunity for terrorists to take any of the communities in the Lake Chad.
Muna so cikakken tsaro wanda zai taimake mu yi amfani da ma mu samu jama'a wanda suna mu samu cikakken abin da zai biya mana ko kuma za mu yi mai da suka ba ya bashi ne za mu taimako a ba mu taimako da za mu yi noma da za mu yi abin da za mu rike ranmu abin da ya rage.
Gaskiya na yi farin ciki sosai da wannan kawonmu da Allah ya yi cikin 'yan uwanmu da yanda aka karɓe mu aka nuna mana goyon baya akan dawon da muka yi aka karbe mu hannu biyu gaskiya muna godewa Allah. Mun gode ma Allah kuma mun gode ma jama'a da suka dawo da mu alhamdulillah.
Following the takeover of Ngoshe town by the security forces, the government have begun reconstruction effort geared towards resettling the displaced families.
Cooperation na su sojoji, JSS, al'umman gari gaba kida. The effort da Borno State government ta sa, federal government ta sa, alhamdulillah mutane sun soko lafiya, wanda suna nan 356. A cikinsu manyan mata 106, yara kuma 155. Har yanzu a cikinsu akwai mutane askira uba guda 11 mata wanda sun zo na sun yi kamar wata 7 zuwa wata 8 a wajensu. Amma alhamdulillah with this development su ma sun samu sun zo, wanda muna fata a cikin ikon Allah gashi nan ka zo duk wani jawabin da ya kamata a ji za a ji a bakinka. Allah ya taimaka, Allah ya sa albarka.
Military operation has to be followed by stabilization mechanisms, reconstruction, rehabilitation and resettlement. There is a need for us to support the victims. By what? Establishing schools, public facilities. So even if they're destroyed, we shall build back better again. While government will very soon rehabilitate and reconstruct all those infrastructures that were destroyed by the insurgents, and then Ngoshe community will soon go back to their community, and this community is now okay.
Community leaders attributed the improvement to sustained military operations, collaboration between security agencies, local vigilante groups, and the local government administration.
We have what we call Mandara Mountain in Gwoza. And this Mandara Mountain, it serves as the hideout of the Boko Haram and ISWAP. I believe if the state government and the federal government didn't make an effort for clearing those hills, I think our people are in danger still again.
Soft crackle of hot oil frying akara, a bean cake by Esther Dauda, a widow that takes care of her 6 children out of the local delicacy at the roadside in Gwoza as the dust settles.
To yanzu dai muna cewa Allah mun gode da sauki ba kamar na da ba. Ga shar muna iya kasuwa muna kai karfe 10 wani lokaci 10:30. Kuma muna cewa Allah mun gode.
Food vendors and shop owners now operate into the night, catering to a growing number of residents, including youngsters who feel safe enough to move around freely.
Cin gaba an samu akwai wutar nepa a Gwoza alhamdulillah, ga network MTN muna da shi, ga Zen muna da shi, amma ana karancin shi. To duk wayannan muna neman gera akai. Manyan mana siyasa na Gwoza alhamdulillah mun gode ma Allah, mun gode musu.
From the Chalet area to Mararaba here up to Hamagla in Gwoza Local Government Area of Borno State, people are going about their normal day-to-day activities, particularly nightlife, where business owners sell and buy. And their hope is on the government to improve services, particularly telecommunication services, whereby they can communicate with other people, which will go a long way in sharing intelligence with the security forces to ensure peace.
While some residents remain cautious, many agree that the return of normal activities in Gwoza represents a significant victory against insurgency and a hopeful sign for the broader recovery of Borno State and Nigeria's northeast.
Now, to help us unpack all of this and this particular situation, we have with us this particular episode, Captain Lukman Gidado is a security expert, and also Professor Mokhtar Imam is a peace and security expert also. Gentlemen, it's great to have you on Scorecard. Thank you for your time. All right. Let me start with you, Captain Gidado. Looking at the peculiarity of the security situation in this particular axis, of the country, what would you consider the root cause? Because they will tell you, that security is local, right? At the local level, what would you consider the root cause?
Fortunately, I've been able and privileged to serve in Gwoza Local Government Area during my active military service. and I understand the security dynamics of that general area to some reasonable extent. So I would say that I think part of the root causes of insurgency, especially in the in Gwoza Local Government Area, has to do with radicalization. I recall around 2014, 2015, I think the emir of Gwoza then was killed by these terrorists in Gwoza. And radicalization in the sense that the locals allow wrong indoctrination to permeate that general area, preaching wrong doctrines of Islam, killing people who are not ready to subscribe to that radical approach. So basically, it was a problem of wrong indoctrination. And between now and the previous decade, where Gwoza was like epicenter of Boko Haram insurgency, I think there have been considerable improvement, because aside the indoctrination of wrong Islamic principles, there were problems of socio-economic issues bordering on there is a gross misrepresentation of the fact that the youth have to be engaged in productive activities such as going to school, farming activities, and the rest. Because if the youth were properly engaged, they will not have imbibed this wrong Islamic doctrine. So most of the issues that are the root causes, the Gwoza Local Government Area have been able to overcome them reasonably. But however, there's still continuous room for improvement, while farming activities and other activities have started resurfacing in Gwoza Local Government Area, because it is a very, very big local government area. If you're familiar with the terrain of Borno State very well, when you leave Maiduguri town and you pass through Bama, immediately you are getting to Frigi, Polka, going to Ingoshe, up to Gwoza, Ashigasha, Yemteke. Is a very, very big local government area that borders Sambisa Forest, Mandara Mountain, and of course, Kirawa, Cameroon. So, like I said, there have been considerable progress that is being recorded now, but there's still further room for your continuous improvement.
All right, thank you for that, Captain Gidado. Let me go straight to Professor Imam. Do you also think that the root cause of many of the security challenges experienced in this particular local government, just like what the captain has said, is bordered around religious radicalization?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I agree totally with what the captain has said. However, I would point out that all social issues, just as with Gwoza is not an exception to the whole. You find that all social issues, including insecurity and other violence, do not have one single root cause. They are often multidimensional, they're multifaceted, and of course they are multi-layered. And addressing them obviously requires the same approach. So what he has said is a chunk, in terms of statistics or numbers as to the cost of what we're witnessing in not just Gwoza but across Maiduguri and the entire Northeast region. Radicalization is something that has become a tool in the hands of most of the terrorist groups, not just here in Nigeria, not just with Boko Haram or ISWAP, but you find that with Jenim, with most other groups that take that, particular modus operandi. So yes, I agree with him. I think radicalization is a part of it. People are being indoctrinated. People are being, particularly the youth. You find that a lot of them, as a result of illiteracy, as a result of lack of access to education. By education, I'm talking about both Western formal education and, of course, Arabic understanding of the Quranic text. You find that a lot of these people have very little on, and the so-called teachers have very little understanding of the religious text. And so there's this misconstrued, representation of the entire situation. And as a result of the underlying vulnerabilities, i.e., of course, the socioeconomic factors are a very prevalent issue, and of course, very, at the nerve. They are the nerve of the conversation, because as most writers, particularly Francis, forgive me, Robert McNamara has alluded to, development is security, and of course, security is development. So it is essential that these issues are looked at pari passu. You find that a lot of the time, people who are vulnerable, people who are indoctrinated into this sort of circle, are people who lack a lot of things, from the social to the economy to lack of access to education, and so on and so forth. So it creates that gap, and it allows these individuals or these societies to become fertile ground for recruitment. And of course, the youth are people
Professor Imam,
vulnerable to this sort of situation.
All right, thank you very much. Let me go back to Captain Gidado. Captain Gidado, you did say that, at some point you served there while you were still active in the force, and you observed certain things. You bordered around religious radicalization as being part of the root cause, for insecurity in that area. But let's also look at the issue of administration too. And I'm talking about the government at the local level there. Is it okay to say, even though you allude to the fact that there's some level of progress, but can we say that at the local government level, governance there in terms of security, in terms of being in charge or being in control, is handicapped?
Okay, what I would say to that is, it is on a sad note that when there are issues of insecurity in Nigeria, people tend to attack the federal government, that the federal government is not doing what is expected of it, forgetting the fact that there are three tiers of government in Nigeria. We have the state and as well as the local government. And all these tiers of government, they have a role to play when it comes to issues of security. As a matter of fact, the primary function for the existence of any government, be it federal, state, and local government, is the security of life and property. But it appears that the governance at the local level has completely gone into extinction. It has disappeared and collapsed completely. All right. Even now, they have started resurfacing, but in about a decade ago. In fact, it appears that we don't even have local government functioning well in Nigeria again, which borders on the fact that governance has been one of the major issues causing insecurity. Many people tend to believe that. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Captain Gidado, because we're also trying to, of course, manage time. Let me go straight to Professor. Professor, right, if you were to rate, this particular local government in terms of its effort in ensuring that there is a safety, what would you give it? A scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
That's $1 million question. It's a tough call to make that sort of assertion without looking at certain indices. However, I would say that looking at the Human Development Index and where Gwoza sits in terms of the rating, the recent rating, I think 2 quarters ago, it places Gwoza at the top of the ladder. It therefore means that a lot more needs to be done in terms of providing all of the essentials. But we must understand that when we're talking about security in its kinetic form, the exclusive list trumps all of this. And that's the reason why often at times the conversation sits at the center and then people point fingers at the center without looking at the state or the federating unit and governance at the local level.
All right, so on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're just off your course, what would you give it?
Well, I wouldn't want to place a number to it, but like I said, we must look at the indices to be able to do that. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. How about you, Captain?
I think placing any number on it might not be completely correct. What I would just say is that there are a lot of multidimensional issues that are causing insecurity, and we've mentioned a few of them, which borders on socioeconomic factors, and there is need for us to also, that general area borders Cameroon. And we, in as much as the security forces are operating with the Cameroonian force, our borders are still porous. So there's need for concerted effort by all stakeholders.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been great having you on this conversation. Captain Lukman Gidado, retired security expert, and also Professor Mokhtar Imam, a peace and security expert. Once again, gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right. And that's it, of course, on today's episode. You've heard it from, of course, the people, the residents of Gwoza Local Government Area, and our guests today. As we always say on this program, governance is local. I am Dakbo Adigboye. Good night.